SewJo. What is SewJo? Now, according to the first thing that pops up on the internet when you Google it, SewJo is one of those words we toss around in the online sewing community. It's a made-up portmanteau of sewing and mojo. It's that motivation to sew regularly. Now, if you've been looking at the channel recently, you will have realized that my SewJo has packed up its bags, packed up its portmanteau, and it has left the building a while ago. And I have never experienced a lack of motivation to sew like I have recently. Now, I think it's a combination of a couple of things. I cannot say the German word, but this word, spring tiredness, I think there's quite a few of us that have been experiencing this, the end of the winter season, the beginning of spring, and just for some reason, rather than it being like this renewal of like energy and freshness and stuff like that, just like a ennui. There you go, getting my inner French on. Yeah, a little bit of an ennui about just the whole process of creating. I also think that I have been going through some burnout because I haven't given myself a proper holiday for a couple of years now. Yeah, I've had plenty of time off, but usually because I've been working on something behind the scenes, or I have been sick. I have not given myself an actual holiday. That's not a good thing. The other thing that I think has happened is I'm doing my year of projects that scares me, which I'm incredibly excited about, honest. But I have had way more failures and things that have not come out exactly how I imagined that they would this year than I've ever had before, because previously I have been playing it somewhat safe and sticking in my fit and flare happy place with variation. But I just decided that I had a giant list of things that I really wanted to try, as I say, the year of projects that scares me. And I've just jumped in both feet first, as I always do. And a bunch of them have not turned out how I have envisioned in my head. So I think all of those things combined have just basically made it so that I am like, I don't want to sew anything else because it's going to go wrong, and my motivation to sew anything has left the building. I get asked this question a lot: how do you get your SewJo back? And I usually have a few responses. Sew a TNT, tried and true. Sew an easy project, a knit project. Sew something very, very different. If you always make clothes, try making a bag. If you are lacking motivation to do all of those things, reorganize the stash. Have a look at some inspiration on Pinterest, your favorite YouTuber. Go through those kinds of things. Have a look and see if there's something that sparks that creative joy for you. For me this time around, none of those things work. So I took to Instagram and the Facebook peeps group and asked you guys what your tips and tricks are for getting your SewJo back, and I got a plethora of answers. So let's have a look at some of them. So 11 people came up with the TNT easy project solution for losing your SewJo, and you guys are 100% on the ball with that one. It's my usual go-to thing, and I thought I was kind of doing it with this dress. This is the McCalls 7537. It's definitely one of my favorite patterns. I've made this a lot, but actually getting to the sewing process for this, there are a lot of parts. It's a simple dress, but it's a lot of different pieces, and I didn't actually enjoy the process of putting this together. So whilst this one didn't work for me as a TNT, I highly recommend that approach. An easy project, an easy knit project, an easy woven project, a small top, or one of your favorite dresses, which leads me on to the next suggestion, which a few of you made. An Eve dress. Now, as you guys know, I love the Eve dress. I have an entire review on the pattern here. I have made a lot, and I haven't made one for over a year, and I don't know why I didn't immediately just go, let's make an Eve dress. I think it was like, the year of projects that scare me, it's got to be something different. No, I should listen to my own advice. So for my May plans, which will be coming out very soon, I have some fabric that was specifically bought to be an Eve dress, and I'm really looking forward to having that one made up. It's a dress that I can cut out and sew up in a day. It's a really satisfying make. It's one that is very forgiving because it's a wrap dress, and so my weight can fluctuate quite a decent amount between the like higher end and lower end of what I sometimes weigh, and it usually fits. So I am very excited to get that one made, and it did make me giggle that at least 4 of you came up with that suggestion and were like, why have you not made an Eve? That's your TNT, go for it. So it's definitely not just me that's going through this at the moment. There are more than a few of you that are experiencing the same kind of thing. You didn't have suggestions for how to get your SewJo back, but you did say that if I found mine, I should send yours back as well, because it's probably hiding in the same place. So hopefully this video will inspire you in some way to get some kind of motivation to try something to get your SewJo back. Fingers crossed everybody is back sewing and doing the thing that they love ASAP. I hope so. So whilst my usual advice is retreat into the known, into the easy, into the TNTs, Elaine had the advice to try a sewing challenge. There are plenty of those around, and it can sometimes help to think outside the box and do something that you wouldn't necessarily do. So Elaine, as she said in her comic, was entering the Sew a Blouse in April challenge, which is a really good idea. I think trying a challenge that is going around and that there are other people doing and there's support and there's lots of inspiration floating around is a really great idea, because you can have a look at the inspiration, you can get motivated by other people, and maybe trying something outside of your comfort zone might be the way that it works for you. I really hope you enjoyed sewing your blouse, Elaine. More than a few of you said that if you lose your SewJo, you wait it out or you try something completely different, and that is great advice. I have been doing a lot of website design and building in the background because I am trying to launch a new website. I also would have loved to do some paper crafting, but I kind of just lost my creative spirit in general. The only trouble with the wait it out, try something different is when it's your job. Now, one of you did say that it's also your job and it was just one of those things that happens, and it is. And as I say, I've never experienced the lack of SewJo burnout that I have this time round, but I was trying to and failing to maintain the channel, and it was actually really nice to give myself a holiday. I did in the end actually give myself some time off with no pressure to do anything whatsoever, to just be and take some time to do other things, to go out, to kind of like watch some movies, literally do no work. That worked really, really well. It did mean that the channel suffered, and thank you so much to every single one of you that's messaged me to ask if I was okay and to say that you're going to be there when I come back, and here I am. So wait it out is definitely an option, but it is one of the scarier ones. Quite a few of you said just sew something, just go down and sew something, even if it's just 10 minutes, just go down, do something, just do something in the sewing room. Even if you don't feel like it, if you give yourself a time limit of 10 minutes, you may end up doing just the 10 minutes, but you may end up finding that, oh, actually I'm kind of enjoying this and I will try a little bit more and put a little bit more time in. So there is definitely something to be said for just getting on and just doing it, especially if you have some entertainment audiobook or movie or TV series on in the background and it's not super precious sewing, it's just something creative for the sake of being creative. That can definitely spark the SewJo again. Quite a few of you suggested a change is as good as a rest. Try something different, do some knitting, do some paper crafting, go out in the garden, just do something different. It doesn't have to be sewing. And again, I had just lost my creative spirit all the way around. I had no inspiration or desire to do anything, so I did try and do different things, as I say, and the website is, you know, coming along and things like that. So it wasn't that I was being completely unproductive, but for me the creativity had just completely gone. I do think this is a really good idea though, to kind of pick up another project. I think JoJo even said, she was like, call its bluff. Just be like, okay, never gonna sew again. SewJo's disappeared, won't ever pick up or touch my sewing machine again. Call its bluff and just wait and see how long it takes for it to come creeping back with its tail between its legs. I love that. I think it's a really, really good idea. I'm not sure if that's what happened for mine. I think it might have been the TNT, the D&G Jess back there that got mine back in swing. But I do think that a change is as good as a rest, and doing something else that you enjoy and coming back to sewing when you feel the creative spark is definitely a way of tempting your SewJo back into your life, because it'll get jealous of your other projects. So that is a good one to try. One of you suggested doing something you hate. Doing something you absolutely hate, which will remind you how much you love sewing and will drive you back to your sewing machine ASAP. I'm not sure I have the discipline to make myself do something like that. Another person did suggest that I go out and help in the garden, and that is something that I hate, and I didn't try it. I'm sorry, it's just not my cup of tea whatsoever. I didn't try this method, but if any of you guys do, let me know in the comments down below how that worked out for you and if it made your SewJo come back in a rush, because I can imagine that it would work if you could bring yourself to do it. A bunch of you said that you watched me to get your SewJo back, which was incredibly kind of you, and I'm so sorry that I've disappeared, but I do think it's a really good tip to watch some of your favourite YouTubers for inspiration, to head to Pinterest, to have a look at Net-a-Porter, to have a look at the new patterns that come out, to have a look at hashtags for patterns that you like on Instagram, to just give yourself some inspiration and see what other people are doing and see if that sparks anything in you as well. But yeah, thank you to every single one of you who use me as inspiration to get your SewJo back. That's very, very kind of you. Sorry I've abandoned you for the last couple of months. Hopefully the rest of this year will be inspiring. Fingers crossed. Now, a couple of you said to come down to your sewing space, reorganize, retidy, go through the pattern stash, go through the fabric stash, play with the pretties, and that is genius advice. I do this an awful lot. I have been through my fabric stash a couple of times. I put things into collections. We've got the foliage canopy collection there, the anaconda antithesis collection there. This is the projects that I want to work on this year. That's the leafy one. We've got the citrus collection and the roses collection just out of shot there. It's really fun to come down to reorganize. I have kind of like reorganized my viscose yet again because it had gotten a little bit out of control. I highly recommend this as a way of getting and sparking your SewJo, because you can go through things and rediscover fabrics that you're like, oh, I forgot about that, I want to make it into this. And the same with the patterns. I think it's a really, really good way of sparking interest, sparking your SewJo back up, and it is usually something that works for me, and I have really enjoyed doing all of those things this time. But I'm so committed to this set of projects that I kind of had blinkers on. I have got a bunch of fabrics out that you will be seeing in my May plans and fabric haul very soon, which I got out of the stash whilst I was doing all the organisation and was just like, you know what, let's do TNTs with these fabrics because this is something that is going to excite me and going to reignite my SewJos. Carrying on from that theme, planning future projects. Like I say, I've got my collections that I want to work through. I have gone through these fabrics and I've actually planned out what I want to make with each of them. I'm really excited about the anaconda antithesis collection. I do think it's kind of like an autumn winter collection because of the colours in there. It's all kind of cool tone blues and things like that. So I have been going through and actually planning out what I want to do with all of these. Now, a lot of them are TNT patterns, so I am going to try and push myself outside of the comfort zone a little bit with some of them. But throwing in some TNTs in the middle is a good idea for me, clearly, having said all the stuff that I've said previously. So definitely making plans for future projects. Again, having looked through clothing companies that inspire you through Pinterest, on Instagram, anywhere that you find inspiration, taking those pictures, pinning them together, pairing them up with fabrics in your stash, working out if you need to buy yourself some notions or a little bit of extra fabric for this or some lining fabric to make this project work, I think is a really, really good idea and can definitely reignite the SewJo. Angela did suggest that I bring Tiana down here, let her roam amongst the fabrics, and any ones that I immediately tried to save from being fluffed or plucked were the ones that I needed to work on immediately. Yes, but Tiana tends to come down here and just sit on the quilts, so whilst let Chi decide is a good idea, and I do have an amazing clip of Tiana picking fabric from the sewing room in Idle Rocks, I don't think I would let her, well, mind you, maybe that is the point. Maybe having her come down here and climb this might inspire me to be just like, no, must protect the fabric. But yeah, let your fluffy overlord decide and pick your next project. That could definitely work. Another suggestion that I have, and is something that I'm going to be doing over the next couple of weeks, is a wardrobe clear out, a complete spring clean. Take everything out of your wardrobe, try it on, see if you still like it, see if it needs alteration or repair, see if it's too big or too small for you, if it's one of those things you want to store it for future you, because I'm really pleased that I stored some of my old clothes that were way too small for me because they fit me again now, and I am totally storing some of my clothes that are way too big for me just in case in the future, so that I have something to put on, because yeah, not being able to wear a bunch of my clothes and having to make new clothes was not the best feeling in the world. But yeah, a spring clean, as it were, is the right time of year for those of us in the northern hemisphere, and autumn clean for those of you that are in the southern hemisphere. But take everything out, reassess what you've got. Does it still fit your style? Do you like it? Do you want to keep it? Is it something that you reach for but then put back because you don't have anything to wear it with? What could you make to make that piece work for you? Is that going to give you inspiration? I am really looking forward and dreading this process. I'm trying to decide whether I take all of the stuff out of my room and bring it down here and try and do this process down here section by section, so dresses, tops, skirts, jackets, etc, etc, or if I do it up in my room, if I can find room to kind of film it for you guys. Well, I think I can, so I think it's probably going to be easier to do it that way. I think this is actually going to be quite a good way of reigniting SewJo, because as I say, you just want to reassess and see if things are still working for you. If you love something, make another one of it, TNT. If you have something that you want to wear but you can't because you don't have anything to go with it, make that. I think a wardrobe spring clean, reassess, kind of clear out, update is a really, really good way to reignite your passion for the thing that you love doing, which is creating clothing. So that is one of my suggestions and something that I will be doing in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully it won't take me too long to edit that video to get it out for you. Fingers crossed. And the very final suggestion was from Tiana, and I'm so sorry if I've said your name incorrectly, and she just suggested chocolate in multiple forms, and because she can't have chocolate, cuddle Chi whilst eating chocolate. I have tried that a lot. It didn't bring the SewJo back, but it was delicious, so I can highly 10 out of 10 recommend that as a suggestion for just enjoying yourself. Maybe not as a SewJo returning method, but it definitely made me feel happier. She also suggests having a look at new fabrics coming out and seeing if you have anything similar in your stash that you are then being inspired by, which I do think is a really good tip. So chocolate and possibly new fabric, or rediscovering fabric from your stash as inspiration. So thank you very, very much to every single one of you that put in some kind of a suggestion for how to get your SewJo back. It was really, really appreciated, and it's been really, really interesting to hear the different ways that you guys tackle this problem. Now, if any of you guys have any suggestions that weren't mentioned, let us know how you get your SewJo back, because inquiring minds want to know. If you've enjoyed this video, you might want to check out this one here.